Hello guys, welcome back on the channel. Hope everybody's doing well. Before we get into the video, I just want to say we done memberships on the channel. Go check that out. €1.99. You get a ton of perks. Check it out. If you want to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. What it's like to play Elden Ring Nightreign by VaatiVidya. I'm really excited to watch this, guys. It has been a minute, you know what I mean, since we've done an Elden Ring video. It's been quite a while since we finished the game. I finished the DLC, so it's gonna be really exciting. This came out of the blue. I was not expecting Elden Ring reaction, to be honest with you. I mean, Elden Ring content, any kind of new content this year. So this came out of nowhere, I think. I don't know if it was announced or something. I don't really watch that much media around the game. But for me, it came as a surprise. This trailer just dropped about a week ago, maybe not even a week ago. And some of you have recommended, I mean, I can't remember who it was. I apologize. You recommended to watch Elden Ring Nightroad by VaatiVidya, and I am so inclined to do this. I am loving his videos, you know what I mean? He's gonna have a great I'm gonna have a great time, you know what I mean, watching this. And I need to understand this game, because from the trailer I understand it's a co-op game, but you can play it on your own. But I am gonna want to watch this video, man. So sit back, relax, and let's enjoy this video together. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to every one of you. You know, hope you are having a great time with the fam. You know, I do apologize, I haven't been active with Elden Ring content, Souls game content. But I don't have anything new to do in regards with Elden Ring. I do want to start Dark Souls 3, you know what I mean? So that's on the list next, or Bloodborne. I have yet to decide, you know what I mean? Let's just get this one.
I distinctly remember reading this message left by another player. Fortnite.
Hold on, let me go.
It's funny. In my first playthrough of Elden Ring, I distinctly remember reading this message left by another player. Fortnite. Turns out it was a prophecy, because Elden Ring Nightreign is kind of like Fortnite.
What?
Okay, I'm just kidding.
Alright.
Kind of. I mean, you drop in from the sky at the start of the game, and you have to outrun a circle closing in around you, but that's
How
where
does he know this? Did he play the beta? Okay, so he played it already, I suppose. Okay. He played the beta version, is it? That's what's happening here, guys, isn't it?
similarities end. Thankfully.
Yeah, has to be.
A ton of articles that you might have missed have actually come out about the game, and in this video I'm going to try and get everyone up to speed.
Nice one.
Seekers of redemption. You were chosen.
It looks so sick.
Thrown together by forces beyond their control.
So, From Software has actually never done anything like this before. They've spun off the Elden Ring IP in a way that they think justifies a standalone Elden Ring title that you'll be able to purchase and play sometime in 2025. And it will exist in complete isolation from your other copy of the game.
Okay.
In a phrase, Nightreign is a PvE co-op survival roguelike Souls-like with some battle royale and extraction elements as well.
Okay.
And, you know, that sentence tells you everything and nothing at the same time.
Just thinking the same thing.
Let's break it down.
Please do.
With special thanks to the journalists who have played a demo of the game and written about it, I'm going to try and walk you through a typical Nightreign session from beginning to end. Starting with the selection.
Can we go back for a second?
I'm going to try and walk you through a typical Nightreign session who have played a demo of the game.
Okay. The journalist who have played the demo of the game
and written about it.
Got it.
I'm going to try and walk you through a typical Nightreign session from beginning to end, starting with the selection of your character. In Nightreign, you don't create your own character from scratch. Rather, you'll be picking from a selection of 8 preset Nightfarers, each with their own strengths, weaknesses, abilities, and ultimates. And these characters form the foundation upon which you'll build, collecting different weapons and buffs within each session to make your character unique. To start, this is Wilder, and they're the titular character of Nightreign. They'll always start with this large longsword equipped.
They look so sick. He looks so sick with the wings on the helmet. It looks like a Valkyrie or something.
What's way more important than this character's weapon is their ability and their ultimate. Their ability is the claw shot. It's a grappling hook that can pull you towards enemies or away from them. To use an ability, apparently you hold down Y or triangle in conjunction with one of the controller triggers. And assumedly, the other trigger is used to activate your character's ultimate attack, which, in the case of Wilder, is an explosive attack that you charge up at close range for massive damage. So each character is defined by their ability and their ultimate.
Passive traits, sidestep dodge, okay. Unique ability, Wilder's claw shot, ultimate attack, Wilder's explosive shot, okay. Okay.
But another thing tied to the character that you choose appears to be the stats that each character favors. While you can level up stats manually, PC Gamer notes that some characters will still always have more health than others, for example. On that note, the Guardian is best suited as the tank for the group because they have high HP as well as a passive that favors the usage of shields. Their ability is this whirlwind attack that interrupts enemies so that your teammates can have a moment to shine. And their ultimate ability is Wings of Salvation, which is this crazy dive bomb attack that raises nearby ally defenses and also gives you the option to endure enemy attacks for a limited time after you devastate them. And then there's the Duchess, who's another favorite character of many who played. They have a Bloodborne sidestep dodge, and they also have an ability that reapplies damage done by you and your teammates in the last few seconds. So you can basically double any damage done within that period.
Ocular, Noised, Casey, Jordan. We're gonna have to play this, boys. We're gonna have to play this together.
Of time. Their ultimate ability cloaks you and nearby teammates, enhancing your stealth and allowing you to make a quick getaway if needed. The Recluse is the mage of the group, and their passive ability allows them to acquire FP whenever an enemy is slain. Their ability is called Magic Cocktail, and it passively stockpiles different statuses like poison or fire or ice whenever an enemy is hit with that type of attack. Then it releases a unique attack that's different depending on the status that was stockpiled.
Okay, interesting.
Their ultimate is
so you can have a lot of variations with him. I like that.
Blood Soul, which marks all nearby enemies with an effect that restores health to any player that attacks them. Special thanks to PC Gamer for transcribing all these class abilities so neatly. There are, however, 4 other characters who are less understood at this stage.
Okay,
but
thank God.
I think I've been able to
thank God, because we like surprises, isn't it, guys?
Out a few based on the trailer footage and other interviews. This, for example, is an archer character who apparently has a sort of third-person aiming mode that's unique to them.
He looks so
We see them summoning a spectral hawk here, and they can do that because they're standing next to a spectral tree, which you can see on the right. This obviously allows you to navigate the terrain in a certain direction for a set amount of time, and From Software thinks this will give you some versatility in how you decide to navigate the map in certain situations. Speaking of spirits, another character is apparently meant to have a spiritual companion, and from what I can see in the trailer, I don't think this character has been shown at all. Next, there's a character that has an innate deflect mechanic that's not unlike the deflect buff that's given by the deflecting hard tier in Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm probably the most excited for this character. Lastly, IGN notes that there's a character able to raise slabs of rock out of the earth, and I think that's the character that we see here. Let me know in the comments. The previous character just gave me a bit of Sekiro vibes with that block and the overhead block also. Not that I've played Sekiro, just judging by the videos I've seen. Which characters you'll be picking. I think there's also a lot of strategy to be had in the interplay between different character abilities, and which group composition will be most optimal is definitely an interesting question as well.
All the designs look
in addition to enabling you to jump into games easily with these characters, From Software also wanted to make characters like this because each of them has their own unique storyline and backstory that will become uncovered as you play. After selecting your character, you spawn in at the Roundtable hold, which returns from Elden Ring. Here, the characters you didn't choose will be able to be interacted with, and here you can customize each character in ways that we'll get to a little bit later. For now, let's explain what happens after you jump into a session, which you can either do alone or with 2 others.
You can do alone also.
Note that the password system is returning if you want to play with friends, but playing with randoms is also possible, and you'll have to be on the same platform as anyone else you want to play with.
Ah, fuck.
Band together and prepare.
I hope you guys are on PS.
The life of the Night Lord.
Oh man, you can play on your own. That's brilliant.
Session takes place over 3 in-game days, provided you can stay alive that long. And apparently, each 15-minute long day starts like this, with you gliding down from a spectral bird into a land called Limveld. Limveld, according to From Software, is an alternate reality to the Limgrave we explored in Elden Ring. It comes across as this distorted reality, with recognizable elements from Limgrave that will be jumbled up with every new session you create. And on top of this, FromSoft notes that some versions of Limveld will be drastically different from others, with meteoric impacts and swamps and forests of rot and active volcanoes that all diversify the landscapes and offer new threats for you to overcome. Once you've chosen a landing location, you'll be on the ground running with this new animation at about 150% speed. Torrent doesn't seem to be in this game, and instead you can climb cliffs and vault ledges with your character, and you can use your new powerful abilities to kill enemies and power up your character even more as quickly as possible. Because each day only lasts 15 minutes, and when night falls, the map will shrink as the night's tide comes closing in. Apparently, you start each run pretty vulnerable at level 1, but before long, PC Gamer notes that many enemies quickly become akin to nothing more than trash mobs. Presumably, most enemies in this game are probably meant to just be mown down as efficiently as possible by your characters as you prepare for the true threats that are to come. One such threat is the appearance of Margot, who can invade your world and stalk you at random.
That's little pillager. Bent on sacking the lands of gold.
The fuck is that? A weapon?
What away? Any and all who dare approach.
Oh man, this game so
Defeat
hype.
invaders like Margot, and you'll receive a favor of the night, which buffs your character in some way. Indeed, defeating bosses is just one of many ways to power up your character during a run. According to PC Gamer, loot now includes passive skills like stat buffs and active effects and affinities for certain statuses. Additionally, defeating bosses allows you to sometimes choose from different loot or upgrade options, and in addition to that, loot is also now tiered with that signature color-coded rarity that you'll instantly recognize if you've played MMOs or Diablo.
I'm gonna have to tell you guys, this is beyond hype. Beyond hype.
Obviously, this is important for this kind of game because it forces you
the
to...
The versatility is just way more big than I thought, you know what I mean? I thought it's gonna be limited enough. It's gonna be a short version, you know what I mean, of like a midget version of Elden Ring, but it looks like it's more than that. It looks like it's more than that.
Constantly evaluate new upgrades for your build. I like the idea of a tier system for weapons in this game because it adds variety to your playthroughs. For example, if you don't like using a longsword generally, but then you find a longsword that's like a really high rarity, all of a sudden you're evaluating that weapon in a different light, and it might actually be worth using and getting out of your comfort zone in that way. So, while armor upgrades appear to be absent in favor of choosing different skins for your character instead, weapon upgrades are a really big part of each run. And the equipment screen now apparently has been simplified to just 3 weapon slots for each hand, so that's 6 in total.
Okay.
What's worth noting though is that unlike in Elden Ring, there are no weight penalties or stat requirements for these weapons, so there's actually no downside to equipping 6 weapons. In fact, it's a really important thing to do because weapons actually now come with passive buffs as well. And these passive buffs will apply to your character even if they're simply equipped, and even if you don't meet the level requirement for a weapon, which is a requirement that some powerful weapons do have. Should you die in Nightreign, you'll be put into a downed state, where your teammates are actually encouraged to damage you in order to revive you. From a gameplay perspective, this is a really cool take on the revival mechanic, because it's usually a bit of a drag in other games. Unlike in other games where you have to stand still and revive someone, this allows you to make use of your character's weapons and unique arsenal and skills. What's more, you get the added bonus of being able to slap your friends silly for dying in a dumb way, which...
My Nightreign teammate watching while downed as I charge my drive ultimate to attack them. I'm about to save their lives.
Sounds kind of cathartic. If you die during the daytime, apparently you have the choice to respawn with a slight punishment to your character's level. But if it's night, you'll have no such option, and the Ring of Rain will be closing, and that will bring with it...
I think there's a movie with William Dafoe, The Lighthouse, that I haven't seen. It's with him and Pattinson. I think it's called The Lighthouse. That's definitely on the list. I want to watch that. I might watch that this Christmas.
Damage to those who get drenched. And at the ring's close, every day you'll be forced into a randomized boss fight with a challenging enemy that represents the end of that day. Die here in the dark, and you'll be forced to rely on your fellow Nightfarers to revive you in the midst of combat. If all 3 of you lose your lives at any time, it's game over and it's back to the Roundtable hold with you all.
I love it.
While most everything that you've collected is lost upon death, one thing is not, and that's a resource called Merc. Merc is a currency that persists between rounds, and it's able to be spent in the Roundtable hold to buy character emotes, customizable skins, and most importantly, relics. Relics are a permanent attribute buff, and each character can slot in 3 relics that can tailor playstyles to your liking. IGN mentions that some relics allowed them to deal extra damage with throwing knives, and some relics boosted the damage that you do with a certain weapon type, which is cool because then you would go into each round hoping to get that weapon. PC Gamer notes that they found relics that allowed their healing flasks to also heal their allies, or relics that marked treasure for them on the map, or relics that made their critical attacks give extra runes. It seems like all of these relics are color-coded as well for different characters, but apparently you can also perform something called a relic rite to switch around their color coding. I'm not too sure I understand how that works just yet. While you're in the Roundtable hold, you're also able to visit a training ground to test out your character's new kit and to prepare for your next incursion. Apparently there's even a codex here that gives background lore on characters and enemies, which is new for a Souls-like game. But once you're done here, it's back out into day 1 of another journey. You went
above and beyond.
You'll have to hope that you can survive. Interestingly, when you do die out in the world, there's a chance that a red corpse will show up in someone else's world, and that's your corpse, and in that world, apparently it will be a fantastic source of loot for them. This, according to From Software, is Nightraign's unique asynchronous online.
In the actual Elden Ring game, online game, or again in Nightreign?
element.
Your body shows up after you die in Nightreign. Somebody can loot it, or it's yeah, it has to be in Nightreign.
And this is in addition to the usual phantoms that you'll be able to see running around the world with you. On that note, leaving messages for others is apparently a feature that's been removed in this game. And it was removed in the name of speed and fluidity, which are two things that are clearly very important priorities for Nightraign's gameplay. This game revolves around getting as much done as possible in your 15-minute days before each boss fight. Leveling up, for example, is another thing that's been streamlined. No longer do you need to sit and rest at a site of grace to level up and restore your flasks. Rather, you only need to be in the proximity of grace to do so. And even leveling up has been streamlined to where you can auto-level recommended stats just by mashing a button, and this process will automatically upgrade the stats that suit your character. As noted by IGN, the structure of the game really lends itself to this gradual build in tension with every day that culminates in a boss fight, and then that tension recedes again if you're victorious that night, and the Ring of Rain retracts away from you. All enemies killed on day 1 remain dead, and with day 2 beginning, your team is able to get back to exploring and preparing for that next challenge, which will require you to synergize your builds together and come up with strategies to take out the field bosses you wish to face. So I think this process of looting and exploring and fighting creates really good peaks and valleys to the gameplay, as From Software says as well. And they believe that this will condense the experience of Elden Ring, fitting exploration and character building and discovery and challenge into just one short play session.
It's hard when you're talking about exploration and you're talking about 15 minutes and then you have a goal to do, you have some, you know, like random mobs to fight, then you have the boss, you have to, you know, play around a bit with your stats also. Check few upgrades. Don't know. I mean, you can do that at the Roundtable, I suppose, but like 15 minutes, it feels too short. At least half an hour, isn't it, guys, for a boss fight? But then again, I don't really know the sizing, the layouts of the maps. But we will see. We will see. Can't wait, man.
Or rather,
I wish we would have a date.
One of 8 chosen Night Lords that you would have set out to kill when you first left Roundtable Hold. According to the game's director, these final bosses will be gradually unlocked as you progress, and I assume each Night Lord will be harder and harder in difficulty as well. One Night Lord that we've had a glimpse of already is called Gladius, and they're a hound that is capable of splitting into 3 wolves, which suddenly will require your team to use their abilities and contain the situation and just fight 3 enemies at once. I love that many of these bosses appear to be designed for the co-op experience. The Centipede Demon is another example, as their body parts can fall off and fight independently of the main boss, which will keep your teammates busy. The whole thing sounds like it will be a far cry from the co-op experience of the base game of Elden Ring, which often results in your whole team going to town on one enemy who can only really focus on one of you at once. So I'm glad they're taking multiplayer into account at a whole nother level this time.
Nice.
As for the game's replayability, some players have noted concerns with the variety of locations and the variety of bosses in their 4-hour play session, though From Software was quick to reassure them that the full game will have a lot more variation to it. Really, I feel like so much of this game's success or failure will come down to that simple fact. You know, how much replayability can From Software really offer in this one area of Limveld? And this brings me to the inclusion of characters and enemies from Dark Souls in Elden Ring, which I feel like is probably the most controversial topic of this announcement. So this character seems to be the Firekeeper from Dark Souls 3.
Really?
This spider is the Duke's dear Freya from Dark Souls 2. This is the Centipede Demon from Dark Souls 1.
I had no idea.
And this is straight up the Nameless King from Dark Souls 3. A lot of people have been laughing, rightfully so, at the idea of people like me who explain the lore having to explain why characters like the Nameless King have made their way into Elden Ring. And I'm not gonna lie, I find this situation kind of funny as well. I agree that it's a bit ridiculous that they're in this world, especially at first glance. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like these characters or enemies have been added to the game for some deep lore reason. We all know why they're...
You never know. You never know. You never know. But then again, look, for me, I haven't played 1, 2, and 3, so I had no idea. For me, this is everything. It looks amazing. It looks new. So I see what he's saying and where he's coming from. But nevertheless, this game doesn't really have a plot. Like, it doesn't have a, storyline. There's no quest in it, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a snatch and grab, hit and run, command and conquer, you know what I mean? You kind of like, you do this is what you need to do as fast as you can, so it shouldn't really matter, you know what I mean? But then again, yeah, for OG players, maybe they're being put off by this because they think it's a lack of design or a lack of creativity, or they could have just made any kind of all boss. But I'm sure there's a reason for it. Yeah, let's see. We all know why they're primarily here. Let's go. Let's see.
Primarily here. They're here because this is a way for From Software to reuse their extremely high quality...
I knew that that's what he's gonna say, and maybe he's right, or he is right, but for me, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I love it like that as it is.
Repository of assets and enemies and animations from their past games. Tons of enemies and animations in Elden Ring are already taken from their past games. It's a technique that frees up From Software to focus on designing new games and new assets that matter even more than these ones. And I personally don't have a huge problem with that.
You shouldn't, and nobody should have, because the point is we're still getting content. We just got DLC this year, and year after we're getting a new content. Getting new content. It is new content. It's new characters, new stats, new way of playing. And yeah, if they choose to play and you reuse old characters and give us half of a new game and half of the old characters in to keep us fed, they put something on our table, you know what I mean, to keep us entertained. And if the goal of that is, like he said, reuse so they can focus on bigger project, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Keep doing what you're doing, you know what I mean? It's lovely.
I think a lot of people would have a problem with this spin-off game existing instead of a new IP, but I guess cutting corners like this does allow them to focus their resources on new IPs. So I personally don't really have a huge problem with it.
Nobody should.
Although I don't know the extent to which they're taking bosses from Dark Souls.
And it's going to be interesting if, they have the codex there. He said they have the codex there, so I'm sure that's going to offer some sort of explanation. I'm really curious to see how they're going to intertwine all of these aspects from old games, and are they going to try to integrate them in this storyline in the sense of they don't exist outside this game, even though we know, or they're gonna come up with some lore explanation, of why they are here. And I think that codex plays a big part. It's gonna be really interesting.
So there's definitely still the risk that they could overdo this, in some people's eyes especially. For a while there, I was really desperately trying to understand how the universes of Dark Souls and Elden Ring could be conjoined in this way. At the end of Dark Souls, the painter does paint a new world, which could conceivably have been the world of Elden Ring. And what's also funny is that ages ago, George Martin stated that Elden Ring is a sequel to Dark Souls, which many took to be a mistake on his part, but in retrospect, that quote almost takes on new meaning now.
They know what they're doing.
The official Dark Souls Twitter account has acknowledged this overlap between universes, and it notes that ancestral foes are appearing in this world and that they are remnants of a fire that once burned bright.
You see?
And
there you
in
go.
an interview with Famitsu, the lore supposedly suggests that these characters were drawn here from other worlds thanks to the influence of the Night Lord. While it's a bit cheesy to have this overlap between universes,
I disagree. I don't think it's cheesy at all. Why would it be cheesy? You know, tell me, why would it be cheesy?
Universes overlapping kind of makes sense in the context of Nightreign, because this is a world that is in flux. Most importantly, though, Nightreign in general doesn't seem to be connected.
You know, this is super technical. You know, like, I think the reasoning behind this is like he explained before. It's just reuse resources, what they have, and focus on bigger projects. But I think also it works. First and foremost, is their right to do something like that. You know what I mean? And considering the level of detail and the level, like, I'm pretty sure, guys, like, no offense, there's like 60% or 70% of the players who play, and I am in that 60-70%, that they don't really focus too much on the story. You know what I mean? So people who actually get nitpicky and they're gonna start to be complaining about, oh, they reuse that, and like, I'm pretty sure like those people, they don't really get the whole essence of the game. Like, they don't study it, you know, from an analytical mind. You know what I mean? They don't. Like, how many people dive deep into symbology, for example? You know, almost none. There's like 5% of players who look at symbology and read all the item descriptions. I'm sure of it. Nobody can say anything. You know what I mean? Maybe those people, they have the right, you know what I mean, to complain. They have the right to complain because they are like just, you know, hardcore players. But the rest, they shouldn't.
The canon of Elden Ring. Rather, the game's director has called the story completely separate and parallel to the world of Elden Rings. But that doesn't mean we can't still enjoy the story of Nightreign.
Exactly.
And it also doesn't mean that Nightreign won't teach us anything about the lore of Elden Ring. Even if it's a separate story, these events are still occurring in parallel to Elden Ring's canon, and thus they can still potentially offer context about Elden Ring's world. Cut content is a good example. Like, that's not canon, and yet it gives us context about the world and what the developers are thinking in regards to a lot of these characters and a lot of this lore. These shadowy titans, for example, could give us clues about the dead titans in the lands between. The Night Lord could be related to the Nox, and they could be the Lord of Night that the Nox have been anticipating for eternity. The Roundtable hold is likely in opposition to the Night Lord for good reason as well, and yeah, that's all valid lore, even if it's parallel to Elden Ring, I think. What I'm most looking forward to, though, are the character stories, because I think those stories will be good on their own. So, all in all, I'm excited to see what the game's new director, Junya Ishizaki, cooks up here. This director has taken a risk doing something different with this project, and I think it says a lot about the company that they'd trust a new director with a project like this that no one saw coming. So I'm excited to play it, and I'm excited to die in Limveld and have you guys pick up all the loot that I had on my lifeless corpse.
We will, Vaati, don't worry.
As for my personal thoughts on the game, I'll give those full thoughts when I get a chance to play it, but the reason I'm excited is because this solves the main problem I have with Elden Ring, and that's its replayability. In Elden Ring, once you roughly know where all the items are, replaying the game becomes a bit of a chore because it's just a matter of deciding on the best items for your build, and then you have to commit to this sometimes agonizing speedrun from one side of the map to the other, and there's so many places you ignore in the pursuit of that.
I agree.
It's just harder to get lost and immersed in the world when you're replaying the game.
I agree.
But with Nightreign,
I agree, but I don't do that. That's one of the reasons I love open exploring, you know, I love exploring the game. So now on my second run, I'm just fucking going around and hitting every corner and every valley and mountain that I can find. You know what I mean? It's just enjoyable to me, like.
And
I don't even care about
continuously
the
get
story
lost
anymore, you know
and
what I mean?
immersed in this
Even though I'm
ever-changing
aiming to
world
finish it.
with ever-changing builds. And I think that's the experience of playing a Souls-like for the first time that we all love. And if this game succeeds, I think it will be because it nails that feeling of playing a Souls-like game for the first time and not really knowing where to go, you know? In Nightreign, that Elden Ring experience of discovery and challenge can be distilled down to this short, punchy play session that you can also share with friends, and I think that's absolutely more than enough reason for this game to exist. And yeah, I think it'll do really well if they nail that randomization aspect and diversity in the world. Also, I really hope that they add some sort of PvP mode to this game down the line, because the pieces are all there, and people joke about Elden Ring having a Battle Royale mode, but unironically that would suit Elden Ring really well with its diversity of options for PvP, and I hope this does well and they keep investing in this kind of game, because this is kind of the foundation for an everlasting, incredible Elden Ring experience from a PvE perspective, yes, but adding PvP would add even more replayability, and yeah, I really hope they go down that road. If you want to learn more, please check out all the articles that I've been referencing in this video. I've got them linked in the description, and I appreciate how much info they were able to get. Please subscribe for more Elden Ring.
Same.
Sorry I sound so tired in this video. I sleep now.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Vati, for the video. You know what I mean? Guys, I'm really excited. There's a lot happening. There is a lot happening in this, you know what I mean? A lot. But he explained it perfectly. I do agree. I mean, I agree with him fully, you know what I mean? Do not get me wrong. I agree with him fully. Some, you know, opinions are just subjective. I guess we won't know until we play, you know what I mean? But fair play to the guys who have, you know, played the game, compiled the whole data, you know what I mean? Fair play to Vati for, you know, building up, just accumulating all that data, piling up data and making this video for us. I really appreciate it. I was actually, I wanted to see something on Nightreign, and this was the perfect video. He explained it perfectly. Guys, I have to go now. I just want to say I'm excited for the game. I really wish we're gonna play together. We're gonna stream 100%. I'm gonna stream Nightreign. Thanks very much to everybody who's here on the channel for the Souls game, for Elden Ring. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, apologies for not posting anything on the game lately, but I haven't had any chance. You know what I mean? If you guys have any recommendations, I am more than liable to do them. I want to do them, you know what I mean? I just don't have any inspiration anymore for Elden Ring as I finish the game, you know what I mean? But that's that, you know what I mean? I hope everybody's gonna have a happy Christmas with the fam. Merry Christmas Eve, happy Christmas Eve, you know what I mean? Happy holidays and happy New Year if I'm not gonna see you again in Elden Ring video, you know what I mean? And yeah, man, that's it. Be good, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.